Yo, welcome to Digital Interactions on the Hacking Your Health podcast with your host, Ben Canning. Today, I am joined by one of the OG members of the WeHackHealth group, probably potentially even before it was WeHackHealth. Maybe?
Yeah, I think it was still Hacking Your Health
Okay.
or something to that it was a weird transition, but yeah, it was right
One
there.
of the OG members anyway. I just had it's Daniel, by the way. I suppose I should actually introduce your name and not start just get into it. The earliest date there, the only date that I can find, or the earliest date that I can find from an initial check-in was like sometime in December 2021. So you have been out about for a while. The one thing I want to sort of, I guess, start with is, and this may be a challenge given the time frame, like Daniel pre that initial call, like were I should have maybe warned you about this. But like, where was your head at? What was going on? How did you feel? What made you reach out?
Yeah, okay. Jesus.
Hold on, I'm going to pause this podcast. We're both going to go get a margarita.
Yeah. I mean, so probably, well, it was like a full year or so before that. Some pretty significant changes happens in my life, like very short succession. One of the big ones, a loved one who was very young, 18 or 19, died of a drug overdose. And that just kind of like spiraled into just a lot of stuff. And it wasn't great. Obviously, you don't come out of that with a great headspace or great like anything. But it was also like in parallel to like some back injuries and just some stuff. I had received a diagnosis, like an adult diagnosis with ADHD, and I started learning a whole lot about like how that affects my nutrition and just so it was like around that fall of 2020 is when I just kind of signed up for like an Orange Theory membership, and it was right across the street from my work. So I would go there 3 or 4 times a week and then just go to work and get on with the rest of my day. I don't know how that time was really filled because it was pretty depressive. But one of the things I remember on the other side of that, so probably spring 2021, is like I'm doing some pretty heavy like cardio 4 times a week, burning all these calories. And I have no idea like why my body composition isn't changing. My weight isn't changing. I'm not going in any positive direction in my life. And I mean, I think early on, like one of our first things was really getting a handle on my nutrition and just like eating on a regular basis, those sorts of problems. But in the months leading up, and I remember this because it just feels like I was coming out of all that fog. We moved from New Orleans to Nashville, and I just had like this brand new place to reset and started getting in my 10 to 15,000 steps a day and started like doing my own regimen. And then I think that's probably right around the time the podcast started, because that's, I think, where I first heard like the 4 pillars, 4 or 5 pillars. Yeah. Anyways,
we're now on 3. We've cut them down.
We're
just keep getting
3.
fucking going.
Just
3.
Keep going. Soon I'll just be 1. So like I felt like I was pretty like in line already with a lot of that stuff, and I think our first phone call was probably September or something. It's like that introductory call where went to the website and put in my name, and then it was a few months later when we started. So it's like I had already done a lot of habit formation and work. I was just in a very confused place, like why all of that work wasn't actually producing results that I wanted or needed for my long-term health and longevity.
Okay. I'm going to fast forward, and there's many bits that we'll revisit in between. Comparison to that version of Daniel to you now, like day to day, how do you feel? Like where are you at with things, or like where are you at now?
Where I'm at now. Well, how I feel, like I feel, I feel great. Like there's obviously a lot of territory to cover between then and now, but like on like the mindset and the mental health, like I I'm happy for like the first time in a very long time in my life. And that's been such a significant shift in how I just like approach also my physical health. I don't remember where the conversation was, but there was always like this underlying like drive to like prove something to myself, prove something to others, and just like get the work done no matter how I'm feeling. But having like this general baseline of happiness like is more motivating than following any sort of protocol where I sit and stare at the sun for 15 minutes in the morning. And
Shots fired. Andrew Huberman, we're coming for you.
Wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. Right, and it's already off track. But like the happiness like just reinforces my own sense of control over my routines, over my habits. And I'm very recently have shifted from like when we first started talking, I was like home gym only. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to work out around people. Part of it was like convenience. Part of it was still in the middle of COVID, but also I just was very uncomfortable in the gym. Like I'd walk in and feel like an idiot. No, I don't. And I've actually like gone to the other end of the pendulum where there's a gold gym right around the corner from where I live now. And I go there 3 or 4 times a week to get my lifts in, and just being happy and like, yeah, that motivation just, it's just a very different level. I'm not like working out angst. I'm just working on myself and continuing to see qualitative improvements.
Good. Right. We're going to go right back again. You mentioned there you had recently been diagnosed as an adult with ADHD. I have had a fucking adventure with you and fucking some absolutely hilarious conversations. But I think to the point that you mentioned, like the how that impacts your nutrition, because truthfully, like if I think back to sort of when we first started, this was my initial introduction to how to sort of navigate this. Like, so you were the experiment in some way, shape, or form. So thanks, and you're welcome all at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But it's something that we had to take into consideration and had to overcome. So talk to me, like where the struggles lie within that, and sort of what you put in place or what we put in place to navigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is probably still where I struggle the most because with my type, it's called inattentive ADHD. So, I mean, time blindness is a huge thing, and how that affects my appetite. Like, I don't, not to take too deep a dive into the psychology of it. Maybe that's not the right way of talking about it, but my brain doesn't like register my body signals that it's hungry. So I will forget for a day and a half, sometimes 2 days to eat. And that is probably the most significant like obstacle that you and I have like had to really deal with. Because I mean, obviously like I see like my check-in sheet and you're like, how many calories did you eat Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? I'm like 700 over those few days. So it's like, holy shit, how did you live? And I mean, we've
caffeine
caffeine
and ADHD medication, of course.
Absolutely. Just power on through until bedtime. Yeah, I mean, some of those days, but and we've experimented with a few different, approaches. Obviously, like one of the big like things that I'll hammer in the group chat and stuff is like, hey, like 1 or 2 days where you miss this in a month isn't really a big deal, like long term. It's kind of like a speed bump. Like it's really not going to like move the needle a lot. Like if it's becomes like a way of life, obviously like that's a real problem. In my context, it's you're malnourished, you're undernourished, you're not getting your protein or your nutrients or anything. You're just coffee and medication, and that's not sustainable. But so it's like giving myself the permission and the grace to be like, okay, well, a day or two in the scheme of things isn't terrible. I can just like get right back on track today. There's always like the opportunity today to get right back on track and do it. And then the day-to-day strategies we've talked about, I still laugh at it because I think there was a point where I think like your first reaction was like, can't you just set timers? I'm like, yeah, but I ignore the timers. Like I just hit snooze, right? And but like some of our primary strategies was like, okay, well, your first, if you can hit the first meal of the day, like load up on your protein and like take those sort of strategies or work your way back. I think that was another one that we did, and that became like a real centralized point of my nutrition plans was like, if I can determine, by like dinner time, what I can eat on a regimented, like just schedule it out on routines, and like whether it's just like eggs and, whatever for breakfast, and then lunch, a couple protein
Usually
shakes,
breakfast tacos or lunch
breakfast
tacos or dinner tacos.
tacos, some form of tacos, the protein just like in and out. But like, if I can like map out, okay, by this time of the day, I can consistently get this much protein before I go hit my lift or whatever. Uh, Dinner is the easy one to kind of like fit in. And there were just like a number of strategies that we did where it was just part of it was developing like a real regimen and routines. So once I could like integrate that into my life, it's not about remembering to eat. It's just like, this is the next, this I'm on autopilot. But getting to those habit formations, that was just a lot of accountability and a lot of just commitment to do the work, to remember, to do whatever I needed to do to trigger, myself to be like, oh yeah, okay. Sometimes that was like alerts. Sometimes that was, calendar reminders and on my work calendar, like, hey, have you had your shake today or whatever. But it was that initial habit formation that made nutrition a lot easier. I'm not going to say it's perfect or great because I still miss days. And something else that we've also done was, well, we don't like to call it intermittent fasting or or anything like that, but like windowed eating or like just a 36-hour fast. Just like, instead of like calling it forgetting to eat, we're just going to rebrand it and call it you're fasting. So like Tuesday, Wednesday,
the worst rebrand of all time.
It really is.
But I think that like it was very much with anybody. It's a case of we need to find how this fits into your lifestyle, and obviously this presented a lot of challenges as we went through, and it truthfully was a lot of fuck around and find out initially, just to sort of see the idea behind having the first meal was to build that into your routine, because we can both admit you're very much a routine person, like a schedule. Like, I do this thing, I do this thing, I do this thing. I'm like, okay, we just need to put one more thing in there before you do that, and then we're good. And that's at least, we've covered that one box. The second one, as you said, was we looked at the time that you trained. So again, your routine is to, okay, this is the time that I usually train, and work backwards from that, because we knew your routine after that was train and then eat dinner. So it's like, if we just know that that's always going to be the time, what time do you need to have your meal at before that, and then work backwards for that? So it was definitely very much like, okay, right, how do we make this work? But I think, we have a number of strategies in place to make sure that you do that. And yes, one of them is absolutely reminders in your phone that you probably just do still continue to ignore, but that's okay.
Well,
nobody's perfect.
No one's perfect, but like, because we have those strategies in place, like the weeks that I'm just completely lost supply on it, like I can just fall back to the strategies again, because it's like, those are just familiar tools that I already have. That's like, okay, I'm not lost. I can just go back to doing this and start over day one and keep moving forward.
Yeah. So let's talk about your sort of evolution from training in a home gym to training in the gym. Obviously you feel comfortable now. We've been at a number of events, and I'll touch on the events in a bit, but like having the confidence and feeling comfortable enough to go into a gym and train by yourself, like, well, how much of a difference to that, or where's your head at with sort of where you were to where you are now on that?
I mean, I'm comfortable in a gym, which is kind of, check that off as like an actual like accomplishment achievement in of itself. It's just, before it wasn't, I know like some certainly like feel self-conscious, and there was that, at the beginning, like, oh man, people are watching me while I'm doing this, but I was able, I think, to get past that and just like not care. But like, what I was most frustrated with on the front end was just like not knowing to do with the machines, like not knowing walking in and just having no fucking clue, like what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm watching the video on True Coach. I'm like, okay, I don't see that here. So what can I do to improvise, or what can I do to like work that same muscle? And like, that's what I was concerned about, like looking like the person on the phone, just like da 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 while I'm supposed to be training. And I felt stupid. I really did. And I didn't like feeling stupid when I had my own weights in my own space and just doing that, like again, automated routine. Once I log off of work, jump into some clothes and workout clothes. Let me be specific.
Yeah, not sitting with no clothes on at work.
And then going with what's familiar. And now I just, maybe because I am just kind of also just working on the same machines and doing the same like routines over and over, but I just walk in with my headphones. I'll be polite to the people who say hi to me when I walk in, but that's kind of it. That's all I do. I go in and I just feel confident in knowing what I'm doing, what I'm working out, how to define progress, and all that fun stuff. And I know you said we'll talk about the community events, but I would say the community events and also just the one-on-one time that I've been able to have with you during those events have like significantly enabled me, like helped me out in that regard, because working out with a bunch of people who also either know what they're doing or feel new or, you know, whatever, that gave me the comfortability to learn and to, I guess, explore more and feel just good in my own skin and in that environment, like I actually belong there.
Good. So, I mean, we'll touch on the events now. You're obviously, again, one of the OG members. Our first event was in Cleveland. And in terms of like, for me, and maybe this is me sort of building up more than it is because this is the majority of them, but each event that you were at, to me, marks a milestone. So the first one was obviously the first one. Nashville, which is obviously where you live. The change in that was, it was the first one that we all stayed in Airbnb. Then we stayed in Colorado, and to me that event was fucking massive because we had 2 Airbnb. I was like, oh fucking hell, this is insane. Then we had you're obviously in Vegas, which was different again because that was me sort of coming into the hacker world essentially. And then obviously the event at the start of the year in Phoenix, which it was just
even more massive.
yeah, actually massive, actually massive this time. So talk me through sort of your journey on the events and sort of how you have seen them evolve.
Yeah. I need to think back to the Cleveland event. That feels, it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like it was, you know, a lifetime.
Was it last year or 2 years ago? No, 2 years.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah. And that whole time like had just a real air of excitement. There was like 7 of us, 8 of us. But it was this excitement of having seen like a community form in Discord on the internet, and also like through like the podcast, like everyone just kind of knows each other by their handles or, you know, whatever. There was like this nervous excitement of a number of us like finally getting together and meeting, and also just kind of seeing what it's like to work with a virtual coach in person, and also just being in a space where we're all together. That was exciting. That was new. Everyone was just like, what the hell are we doing? And I know there's a sense of that in all of these, but like, I think that one was it. It was still a bit, I don't know the right word for it, but we were all staying in like hotel rooms at a hotel. It wasn't like a coalesced like community as much as it was like a bunch of people coming to work out with their fitness instructor that they all share in common.
It was even if I remember back, that, you know, everybody was booked in for a one-to-one session. So it was like, there wasn't even the working out together. Yes, I know some people were hanging around while other people were doing the session. So it was very much, yes, we're in the same vicinity, like we're in the same city, town, maybe a better word, for this thing, but it wasn't as like connected as it then became.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely forgot that it was only one-on-one sessions, and I think there were people who kind of like broke out and like did lifts together because they already had like those pre-existing friendships and did that. But yeah, it was very much like one-on-one, pop in for a few days, have a few drinks, have a few laughs, and get some good lifts in, learn a bunch of stuff, new techniques, and all that kind of stuff. That was a real fun weekend. It was a real special time. I was looking at that picture the other day. I think there was like a group picture that we all took in front of a mirror or something, and just the people who are still around, but we've all just changed so much. Not just physically, but just like we're different people since we started in on this community and in on this journey with ourselves and with each other, and that was a real special moment. I'm glad we captured that. It wasn't that much longer, so it was like what?
March.
Spring?
It was March 2022, and then I think we were in Nashville in September.
Yeah, September. Yeah, maybe early October. So it was maybe like 6 months, because I mean, we turned around like, when are we doing this again? And you're like, whenever you guys want, and we're like, all right. And it was, I just remember like you sending out a poll. It was like, okay, where do people want to do this? And like the top two choices were Nashville and then Colorado, which turned out to be the next two. I live in Nashville, so that was a real like neat time and experience for me to just kind of be on the back end to help find places to, whether to eat or figure out the gym situation, and being able to work out at Redcon. Rest in peace. I was so sad when they closed here, but with just putting that together on the back end was a real fun experience for me. But I think what really signified to everyone that, oh, this is a unique thing, this is actually something that's going to have some significant mileage, was with the Airbnb situation. Everyone staying in the same Airbnb, and you just saw that extended out of the gym time together, and how that was a formative time to build this community, to build additional friendships, and actually be able to talk about life without outside the noise of the gym, or wherever we would have for dinner, and walking away, it's like, okay, like we actually have like a sense of identity here, which was pretty great. And yeah, that was like 15 people, right? And then it exploded to Colorado.
I think we had 26 people in Colorado.
So basically like doubled the group. And that was more, we rented the compounds, and I that was also just because it was a new space, but it was unique too, right? It was 30 people. And I think one of your biggest questions that you continue to ask was like, okay, like how can we like grow at this level and still maintain like the basics of what we're all about? And I think you captured that really well in the Denver trip. And Phoenix, still coming off of Phoenix in some ways, but that was great too. By that point, I think we've found a really good way to kind of just like impute the spirit of what this community and what the work is like all about in whatever environment that we're finding ourselves in. Oh, and I forgot DEF CON last year, but you've had like a number of different opportunities to basically translate these values, these things, these friendships, this community into different molds. And however we all want to get together, you're just like, yes, let's just do it. And that's been, it's been a hell of an evolution since Cleveland. And it's just been so much fun to be a part of it from really the beginning.
It's been cool. I think the thing that I enjoy the most now is the people who have been to a few events and just how comfortable they are, and like looking forward to seeing each other and catching up from the previous event. And like, there's no, like, they very much at the start was like, even in Nashville, because it was so close in the Airbnb, like a little bit standoffish, like fucking I'll talk to all these people on the internet and now they're actually standing in front of me. What the fuck? People here are like generally quite introverted and socially awkward. It's like, yes, that's put everybody in the same room.
That's
I'm just going to fucking me. So there's definitely that side of it. And then the flip side of it is people who, and there was a lot of this obviously in Phoenix, people whose first event it was, and how comfortable they're made feel by the people who have been in that position before. And I think that for me is the evolution of like, truthfully, like I could have left in Phoenix. I didn't actually feel like I needed to be there. And that's a good sign because everybody feels so comfortable to sort of be there, like in their own space with the people, welcoming new people and sort of being able to, I guess, pass on what the lifting camps and what it actually means to be there. And you're right. It's more a case of, we have the framework and the structure of what they look like, and it's just trying to fit it into the space that we're in. So whether that's, Colorado or Phoenix or Orlando most recently, and then everything that's to come later. People were talking to me about events last week in spring 2026, and I'm like, I still haven't finished this one. I'm still here. I'm still here. Like that's literally 2 years away.
Give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Please.
I think I've only been in this for like I really appreciate the forward thinking, but like fucking hell. But it's good. Like that's to me what it's all about. And like you said, it's something that I see that really has like longevity in it as the events, because it's something that people look forward to, obviously.
Yeah.
Talk to me then about, and this isn't something I prepared, but talk to me about what your proudest moment over the past, I guess, 2.5 years has been.
My proudest moment. I I sorry, this just because it just ties into some stuff that's just like so personal, but I had more than a number of opportunities just to not in a dramatic like anyway, but like to like fall off the radar with the community. I could have just like signed off and got through some pretty significant like life changing moments and some transitions without so much as like a goodbye. And I mean, dispositionally, that's kind of like the introversion and awkward part of me too. It's just like I can definitely fall off, the radar for 2 or 3 months while dealing with some heavy stuff, and then like come back and say, "Hey, sorry, didn't mean to just not respond to a single text." I even think that may have happened on some level with us, because I think there was even one point you're like, okay, I'm getting pissed, like say something. It's like that's fair. But like continuing my commitments when like a lot of things really just kind of crashed down for me, just continuing my commitment to myself, making promises to myself, and in my own ways, like just renegotiating my contract with myself on what I believe I deserve. Like, what does happiness look like? Defining those like real core aspects that I care about. I think we all care about, but I'll just talk about myself. And then building on promises after that and just like sticking to them. I mean, haven't done it perfectly, and there's still a long way to go, so on and so forth. It's always going to be a work in progress. But I think just still being here and still being present and an active member of a community when it could have just been real easy to just go, "Hey guys, thanks for the ride. I'm out." And I'm so glad and so grateful that I stuck with it. I'm thankful for the friends who would send me like quality of life checks and that kind of stuff, but also just, I don't know, doing the work and continuing to do the work, showing up when I just didn't want to in any meaningful way.
I mean, as you're talking there, I wanted to say it's easy to do this stuff when life is easy, but it's not.
Yes.
It's still difficult to do the stuff when life is easy. So to be able to continue on the commitments and keep the promises to yourself and maintain that narrative to yourself with everything that went on, like I think that's definitely a huge win, and it shows sort of the number one, the power of the routine and the habits and the behaviors you built, but number two, the power and sort of the strength of your will and your mindset to actually sticking to it. Because as you said, sort of understanding what it is that you want and what it is that you deserve.
Yeah, I think I could not agree more. So when you were saying that, like another thing like just kind of popped up, and it's just like the small wins, but getting to see people like throughout the year a few different times and like having them like notice changes, not just, oh, you look bigger, or you're more jacked, or you can lift more weights, or whatever. But like I remember there was a couple moments even in Phoenix where you looked to me like you are much more of a decisive person now. like what happened? But just like growing in ways that like I haven't even like bothered to measure.
Yeah.
And all that's just a product of just continuing to plod on, I guess. And I'm pretty proud of that for myself.
I think that's, I guess there's two points in that. It's you'll not recognize it in yourself because it's like this sort of slow and gradual change. So it's that like sort of extended period of time between seeing people that they really notice the difference. But also it's the time that you and I have been at this. Do you know what I mean? Like we have been on a fucking adventure for nearly 3 years. So like it's that time that's within, it's the conversations, it's the beyond just here's your fucking training and here's your nutrition plan, make sure you fucking eat your food today. Like it's way beyond that. Like we've had a lot more actual meaningful conversations, actually like genuine person to person conversations. And I think that's the ability that I have to recognize those things within you. And it is definitely like it's growth beyond just the fucking size of your biceps, and like it's definitely probably more at least on par as valuable as the size of your bicep. Right.
I don't know if the size of my bicep would be like possible without that that foundation.
Fair. Right. I'm going to get into something a little bit different. So you'll notice, well, I'm going to say you'll notice this, maybe not, you'll fucking pay attention to Discord or whatever, but you definitely, you will not have gotten this as your sort of induction as everybody else does. But obviously when new people come on, we go through the fucking, I think it's either Luke or Todd send a list of questions. So I'm going to present them to you. Some of these are new, some of these are old, some of them I've made up, and some of them I might just make up as I go. Avocados or no?
No.
Fuck you. What brand of air fryer do you have?
It's like a Cuisinart, I think.
Never heard of it.
I don't know. I bought it used.
Okay. What is your go-to excuse for skipping leg day?
Jesus.
That's good enough.
Don't fucking want to do it. It's like, not today, Satan. Like,
cooks oats, cooked or uncooked?
Cooked.
Wrong answer. This is not going well. Let's try a better one. Yeah. What's your favorite brand of tequila?
Oh dear God. Right now, probably Casa Amigos.
Yes,
anything.
Is it just because there's a bottle right here? Is that it?
No. It's because I have like 3 in my closet.
Yeah. Subliminal messaging, not sponsored, but hopefully one day. What is the most absurd fitness or health related advice you've ever received?
The most absurd advice I've ever received.
Health and fitness related, not just in general, because I feel like that's a fucking endless rabbit hole.
Yeah. So, we peg certain plans. We call out certain plans all the time. So I'll just say it, like whatever formula like Weight Watchers uses to like convert like your consumption into like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Like, why did you have to make that harder? Like, it's just not. Just count it and just count. We have apps now that can do it. I don't need to know that I ate 3 points for my meal.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this question, but if you could only have either tacos or sushi for the rest of your life, what are you picking?
Yeah, tacos.
Yeah. Would you rather do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, or 100 burpees?
100 push-ups.
Okay. And to steal, once again, Kyle's lengthy conversation, probably the most extensive conversation, or at least the longest thread of conversation that was had in Phoenix. What is your favorite type of potato?
Probably a baked potato.
Interesting.
Wait, I remember this. Was it like type of potato, like red potato, sweet
No.
potato? Or was it like how is it prepared?
How it was prepared.
Yeah, all right, baked potato.
Okay, fair enough. If you're describing WeHackHealth to someone, what do you say?
Serious answers. I say it like we're a pretty widespread community that's dedicated to our mental, emotional, and physical health and longevity.
Fair. Top 3 reasons that we're actually not a cult.
We had this conversation.
I know we did. I actually wish Dell had recorded
it. We're not nearly as organized as like a cult can be. We do not like bend to authority. Like it's opposite. Part of like it's kind of it is the opposite, right? Like there's a lot within the hacker mindset or whatever that's anti-authoritarian, and it's top 3. So I think I would say there's genuine diversity in our community, diversity of thought, diversity of backgrounds, so on and so forth. It's not as homogeneous as you would find in a cult that wants to drink Kool-Aid in the desert.
So we're not actually a cult for everybody.
No, we absolutely aren't. I am actually speaking from never mind.
What one thing do you know now that you wish you had known sooner? Like if you could, I don't like that if you could go back and tell, but like what one piece of advice or what one lesson or what one thing do you know now that you think would have been very valuable? Do you know many years ago?
I think it's just we have no true concept of what our limits are until we test them. And when we test them, we challenge them, we break them down, and we create new limits for ourselves. And it's just a continued process of breaking those down. I don't know if there's ever kind of like the concept of like muscle failure or whatever. Like I don't actually think that exists for the will when we're approaching it in this way and when we're just dedicating our priorities to ourselves.
And I guess the tag on that, because obviously to me that's something that is learned through the difficulties through training or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you've been able to transfer that into other aspects of life?
Yeah, I mean, there was some very just I've alluded to it before, but there's some just very difficult decisions I had to make for my own life that was in a deeply unhappy place, and I had to make some difficult decisions to get out of those unhappy place, and build my life in a way that was very intentional to where I'm at now, which again is just remarkably happy. There's also just kind of like a spirit of fuck around and find out that I've been able to take to my job, and not in a serious way that would actually break stuff in a professional environment, but like just that immediate, oh, well, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or because you don't know what the outcome of that is, just don't even fucking mess with it. I've been able to go, well, why not? I'll figure out a way to test this out first, but like I'm just going to do it, and we'll go from there. And I think just that level of confidence in my own abilities and strength and just like mental resilience really enabled me to stretch myself in the other aspects of my life.
Good, I agree. Couldn't agree more. Any advice for anybody listening? I mean, maybe should give you a little bit more context to that. Any advice that you think would be beneficial to anybody who's listening, who is not started their journey, halfway through their journey, like struggling with their health and fitness? Like, what advice can you offer them?
I think just returning back to something I said earlier, but every day is a brand new chance to start over. If you're the type that's like, oh, well, it's Friday. I haven't done really great this week, so I'll just start over on Monday, or I'll start over the first of the month, or I'll start da da da. It's like, no, today's just as good as today. There's literally no difference between Friday and Monday, and so you can do it today. It's in your grasp, and sometimes it's just getting that in. It's messy, it's complicated, it's not a perfect lift or a good, may not be like a good feeling set, but just do it. And today's the day that you can turn that around.
Agree. And we'll wrap this up with any final words from you. No context given whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, this has just been like a really special thing, not just in my life, but in everyone who's just been like actively a part of it, that you've created, Dave's created, that y'all have really built, and that we've all built together. And I greatly appreciate our friendship. I can just send you whatever bullshit over text, whether it's like personal stuff or like, hey, look at this t-shirt that I just bought off of Instagram because
the algorithm
hits the algorithm hits its target, or you text me like, hey, don't buy this shirt. But like I appreciate and cherish like the times that we've had together. And for those who want to build a community and friendship and all those things, it's possible to do that virtually. And the Discord channel is just such a great place to start. Hop in the general. Hi, I'm, whatever. My name's Daniel. And go from there. Like it's possible. And then show up to these things that we do, which is also fun and can be life changing.
True. I agree. I'll touch on one thing you said, like, yes, initially we had the idea, but you have obviously been a part of this right from the very start. And you've seen the evolution, and we have all seen the evolution of you. And, to me, I've said this time and time again, and you know this all too well, like it's not about the physical change, it's about seeing you and everybody else grow as humans, and the relationships that are built virtually or through fucking shit posting, or even the ability to just like back to back text and know that that's okay as well. So I guess thanks from me to you for being such a big part of that and continuing to be. As I said, it's been an absolute adventure that we've been on, and it's been great to see your progress, both physical change, mental change, and just, I guess, entire life change, if we're completely honest. But yeah, back to, I guess, what you said about the sort of moments, and obviously I know the deeper context to that. Like, I'm proud of you for making those decisions and for going through with it, and just the things that I know you had to overcome, and the ability to still, number one, let me know that you're alive, which was important.
Sure.
Number two, just come back into the community and just continue to ship post as if you'd been there since the day before. So So thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for joining me today on whatever the fuck this is going to be, because I have just had this idea and now I'm 8 episodes deep, and I guess we're rolling with this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing everybody's story. If anybody has any questions for Daniel, any further questions, he will probably just rip you to pieces a little bit first. Maybe after.
Probably after.
Your handle on Discord is the same as everywhere else, isn't it? Hacks with Coffee.
Yeah. It's the same around Instagram, so Twitter, and Discord. Sorry, Jesus.
It's okay.
I was just thinking. I just realized you don't actually follow me on Instagram.
I don't.
I don't know if no.
I follow your tacos and tequila page.
Yeah, you do.
I
need to now that I have some decent camera equipment, I need to just get back on that bullshit. But it was funny because I was.
You're right. I'm gonna request. You're gonna fucking deny me. There we go.
Let's hear
me here live. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thanks so much, Ben.
No worries. I'll see you. Fuck knows when.
Soon.
At some point.
Sure.
See you in a bit.